Is this the best time to invest in Thailand? We're also going to look at the most likely winner for the Bangkok governor. And lastly, we're going to talk about, do Thai teachers abuse their power in Thailand on today's Good Morning Thailand. Could you please take a moment to click the like and subscribe button? It helps us way more than you know. Hello and welcome to Good Morning Thailand. I will be your host today. My name is Jay, and introducing our very lovely guest today, it's Mike Kenner, ladies and gentlemen. Yay. He's back! Boom. He's back with a bang. And of course, the ever so lovely Natty Rarisa.
Hello everyone.
Yes, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a couple of serious topics for you, but we're going to do it with the usual Thaiger pizzazz, might I add. Now, the first topic we're going to be talking about is the weak baht.
Why are you looking at me?
Because it's all about you. Right, the currency depreciation has currently brought the Thai baht to its weakest in the last 5 years. Now, if you actually visit the Thaiger.com, you can see the live currency exchange rate. Currently, the USD is, if you want to buy it, it's 34.1619, and if you want to sell it, it's 34.5957. Around May the 9th, it was at an all-time low for the last 5 years. And the point, there's a couple of reasons why that has happened. Let me quickly go through that. Firstly, being the Russia and Ukraine conflict that continues to push the price of commodities and the inflation rate. Secondly, the US Federal Reserve's recent interest rate hike. And lastly, China's worsening pandemic and its accompanying challenges for supply chains and shipping. So my first question for you, Mike Kenner, is every time there is a, inflation or depreciation for a currency, there can be some benefits for that as well. So before we talk about the drawbacks, let's start by talking about the benefits. Now, what benefits does a weaker baht have? Is this the best time to invest in Thailand?
Well, I think before we go into this, I think let's just talk about, the Russia-Ukraine conflict and so I think, my take is, I'm not an economist, but, I've got a broad understanding that during markets like this, people fall back to safe havens. Okay. So the safe haven at the moment would probably be the US dollar. That's probably the safest, one of the safest asset classes around. So, we've seen a massive sell-off on the stock market. So, I think a lot of money is reverting back to US dollar, which is obviously having downward pressure on the Thai baht. And I think also as well, the inflows of foreign direct investment coming into Thailand is still low. The tourist numbers are still low, so the demand for the Thai baht has obviously lowered. But I think so what are the benefits of a weak Thai baht? I think you have to think about this. I think I was reading that exports are moving to the all-time highest, because if you think about the price, I think Thailand's one of the largest food exporters globally. Yeah. So you have to think the price of this commodity is coming down. So the Thai exports are much more attractive now to the international community. So I think, because Thailand is more of an export nation in relation to what they're actually achieving, I think, the economy will do relatively well. Also as well, it's a lot cheaper, to come here, I think it's around 10% cheaper to come here now. So if you're coming from one of the big, Western nations, whether it's the US or somewhere in Europe, let's be honest, we've seen appreciation of Thai baht consistently over the last 10 years, odd years, and the prices are getting more expensive in Thailand for tourists coming. So I think this will allow, a slightly cheaper experience by international visitors coming to Thailand. So I think overall it's positive. In general, I think a weak Thai baht would be relatively good for this market.
Yeah, another benefit could be regarding tourism as well. Like you said, if you're a tourist coming to Thailand, you've got US dollars. That's a pretty decent exchange rate. The price of the hotels is not, because of COVID especially, is not inflated. It's the best time to come and stay in 5-star hotels because everyone's providing you a really good deal. Natty, my question to you would be, if you're a tourist, right, and you're traveling to a country, would you also consider how much you'll be able to spend there? For example, if you're traveling to the US from Thailand.
Yeah, that would be a bad time to travel now, I guess.
Right, possibly. Yeah. You'll be like, oh, damn, that exchange rate, I'm not going to be able to enjoy it to the full. But if you're traveling from US to Thailand, you see that exchange rate, 34.16, not bad. I can now stay in a fancy hotel. Well, I know you probably would be anyways.
Nah.
But do you think this would attract tourists to the country?
I hope so. I mean, you know, Thailand's labor and our hospitality game is cheap as it is, and with the weaker Thai baht, I think this is the perfect time to come to Thailand. So come to Thailand, people. Yeah.
Like every party, there always needs to be a pooper, and that's me today. So, what problems do you see arising from the country, for the country, and for the people now that the baht is, you know, at 34.1? And if it starts to depreciate even further, what problems do you see arising, Mike?
Well, I think in relation to, you know, domestic businesses that are earning their trade and craft here, that are also trading internationally, it's now a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Now I think about some of the businesses that we have internally, and we always peg ourselves off the Thai baht. We just lost 10% of our revenue in the last few weeks because of the depreciation of Thai baht. So I think, you know, that becomes more challenging, obviously, for Thais. You know, you spoke about it, looking to go overseas and travel. Obviously, it's becoming more expensive, and I think, you know, this is, you know, I think they're trying to encourage overseas tourism for Thais, because I think this is not something that's widely uptaken, where you see, you know, Thai families going overseas in droves. It's much more domestic stays within Thailand, but and obviously imports are more expensive. I mean, that would probably be, you know, the fundamentals. But I'm just trying to think what are the core things that Thailand import. Cars. I mean, you probably know a bigger list of what the core import markets are.
Let me quickly Google.
What about real estate? Is it a good time to invest in real estate?
So, you know, I think that what we've seen in the West is a massive appreciation in property prices, like everywhere. You know, like you know, year on year, you know, 10+% appreciation in property prices. We haven't actually seen this in Thailand yet. So with the price of, you know, the Thai baht dropping, I think it's probably a good entry point to come in. You know, I think there's still huge amounts of value in relation to buying real estate. I know there's all the moaners, I'm going to call them out there, the ones that don't buy property in Thailand. I mean, look, guys, if you did mess up, it's probably because you got it wrong, you structured this wrong. But you know, we sell a lot of real estate in Thailand, and it's still a good asset class. It's, you know, it's probably the safest asset class. Condos you can own in your name. So I think that it's a relatively good time. It's probably the best time in the last 2 to 3 years to probably, you know, to buy real estate within Thailand. You know, low appreciation rates on the prices, and also a weak Thai baht. You know, if you're coming in international community, yeah, you know, there's probably good deals to be picked up, especially with, you know, some post-pandemic, you know, panic sellers that need liquidity on their assets. So yeah, why not? You know, It's a good asset class.
All right, I'm gonna give you both this next question, and we're going to end this topic on this question. Now, I'm going to put a cap on this question. You've both got $1 million that you must invest. Which part of the country, or what really would you bank your money on in terms of investment? Are you going to start a business? Are you going to go into real estate? Are you going to buy? What are you going to do? Are you just going to go, I've got $1 million, life is short, I'm going to go for a 365-day holiday?
That's it.
I will invest in real estate with fazwas.com. That's what I would do.
You know, I think I would go, you know, depending on what you want to do, but I think you've got to look at what markets were really smashed by the pandemic. And, you know, the ones that really, really smashed were the remote tourist areas, for example, like Koh Phangan and these islands. There's probably huge opportunity to kind of leverage, you know, the state of the market and pick up, you know, a cheap hotel there, distressed asset, you know, and kind of rebuild based on a post, you know, pandemic world. And I think, you know, we're coming out of COVID, it looks like, you know, we're all very positive of the uptake, and, you know, the market will return. It will be bigger than it was before. So I think, you know, all these areas will come back. So I think, you know, I would probably look at, you know, I've seen some friends that I have set up some amazing new restaurants. I think what's changed after the pandemic is that everyone was building the same of everything, the same hotels, the same restaurants, no creativity, no choice. I think if you create, you know, a unique offering, whether that's on a restaurant, a bar, a hotel, I think you've got, you know, this is the perfect time to do this with the market, you know, potentially coming back over the next 24 months.
Yes, crisis always also brings opportunity.
100%.
And ladies and gentlemen, you can decide for yourselves, and hopefully the Thai baht has not taken a big effect on you. As for now, before we take a break for the headlines, I'd just like to mention that the Phuket Hotels Association has a charity online auction. They've got massive deals, up to 60% off in some of the best locations around the world. So visit their website. It ends on the 27th of May, and this could be your opportunity to get an amazing deal in many different parts of the world. There's a link in the description below. As for now, we're going to look at the top 3 headlines around Thailand. We'll be back right after this.
Phuket's authorities are on their guards for dengue fever in light of the newly opened school term. The Public Health and Environment Division of Phuket City Municipality bought fogging machines to schools, kindergartens, and vocational colleges to fight mosquitoes. Phuket hasn't had dengue outbreaks in recent years. However, a Songkhla doctor warned this week that the risk of contracting it in Thailand is higher in the rainy season because pools of water are breeding grounds for mosquitoes. Phuket Provincial Health Office Chief Thanit Sermkeo used to regularly remind the public that, quote, this disease turns every rainy season, end quote. Workers from the Public Health and Environmental Division fogged 9 schools earlier in the morning before students arrived. Dengue fever symptoms include a fever of 2 to 7 days, headache, body ache, rash, and small red spots on the body, arms, and legs. Symptoms are often accompanied by nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, and loss of appetite. If symptoms are serious, the infected person should seek treatment at the hospital. In Songkhla province in southern Thailand, 32 cases of dengue fever were reported from January 1st to May 10th this year. No deaths were reported so far. The most common age group to catch dengue were 10 to 14-year-olds, followed by 14 to 24-year-olds. A couple that allegedly stole motorbike carts in South Pattaya and Chonburi are now in prison. The suspects, 25-year-old Mi Yin Sai and 43-year-old Phun Sok Ban, reportedly confessed that they stole the carts for their own personal use. They allegedly stole one bike in South Pattaya and the other one in Chonburi's Ban Lamung district. Pattaya police arrested Mi and Phun at the entrance to a market in Bang Lamun after 2 victims complained about their stolen bike carts last Thursday. At the market, the police confiscated the stolen bike carts. Initially, both suspects were charged with stealing at night and receiving stolen property. Authorities are warning people at sea to beware of high tides after a yacht capsized in stormy waters in Thailand's southern province of Krabi earlier yesterday morning. The Thailand Marine Enforcement Command Center then contacted its coastal units, telling them to contact fishing boats in the area to look for the dinghy with 3 people on board. A naval operations center also prepared for a helicopter to join the search, since patrol boats could not be dispatched due to the strong storm. But around 4 hours after the passengers called, the Thai MECC was notified that a fishing boat had rescued them and they were safe.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Good Morning Thailand. This show is brought to you by Dewa Beach Resort. Visit Dewa Beach Resort and get a 10% discount by typing in the code Thaiger at checkout, and you can enjoy a luxurious stay in Nayang, Phuket. As well as a big thank you to Johnson C. and Ray Oliver. Thank you for being Thaiger members and supporting the channel. Mike, thank you.
Thank
Wow,
you.
good
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Jeez. All right, guys, we were talking on the break about our weekends. And I took a trip to Phuket to visit Andamanda Water Park. That's right. Shai, do you have some footage?
Yes.
Is there sound on it? Or can I talk over? I can talk over. I'm just going to talk over anyways. I'm not going to lie. So Phuket has, 2 water parks. Splash Jungle, I would say, is like, for young adults / children. Blue Tree's more of a chill. They've got 2 or 3 really good slides, but this Andamana Water Park has 4 or 5 different zones, some really fun slides, something you can go with your family if you've got little kids, but also I'm 30, but I enjoyed myself. It was really good. because it was the opening day, yes, it was really busy, and it was actually good to see that it was busy. And I see a lot of potential in the coming months for that to be a big tourist attraction, because it's a proper water park. When you enter, it's got like, you know, that ridiculous giant. You know how like big water parks and theme parks always have a giant entrance for absolutely no reason, but you feel tiny. But at the same time, I'm like, wow, it's kind of cool, man. And yeah, I got to go to all the water slides. Good old Jason, sweating it out in the hot sun with his camera, along with Phil, his dad, on the drone. Pete, underwater photography. We had the whole crew.
Underwater photography?
Yeah, he's an underwater photography specialist.
Wow.
So yeah, the whole crew was there, and we had a pretty good time. Are you guys into water parks at all?
I love water. Anything water, I'm good. I really wanted to go to Andamanda, which I will at some point in time, I think. Like, it does sound like a very fun place to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike?
Yeah, no, I love water parks. I mean, they've had nothing here for ages. They used to have Dino Park, which was like, I don't know if anyone's seen Takashi's Castle.
You mean the mini golf?
No. So Dino Park was in Phang Nga. And it was like, do you remember Takashi's Castle?
Yeah.
Crazy...
The Japanese show where you have to...
They're running
so
across
good.
and everyone's falling on. They had this in the massive lake, and it was so much fun. And I think they closed it down because probably a few people died.
Yeah.
Oh, no. What?
No, I don't know.
Okay, I was like, what?
You know, but there was no health and safety. Just do what you
Okay.
want. Standard, you know, standard Thailand rules. So, yeah, I think Phuket misses out on that part. I think it's great for it, because I think if you go to, you know, like somewhere like Dubai, you've got some amazing water parks, and I think you lack things to do as a family, and especially on the beach resorts. I think it's perfect. I think, you know, Phuket needs that type of development. So yeah, I love it. I love good slides.
Yeah, Dubai has this water park called Wild Wadi, if you've ever been, but they had some of these big water slides, like the same type in Thailand. And Nettie, I think you did an interview with Kun Prao, who's basically in charge of this giant project. And yeah, so she's well traveled and she's experienced this, and she wanted to bring it to Thailand. This water park's really amazing. Videos coming out either today or tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. As for now, you might have noticed Tim Newton's not here in Bangkok.
What?
However, he is in Phuket, and he has actually done our editorial for today. Now, for our regular viewers, you might know that Bangkok governor elections have been going on, and so far the winner has not been officially announced yet, but it's quite obvious who the winner is. So here's Tim Newton, who's been watching the election and has today's editorial of the day regarding the Bangkok governor elections and its winner.
The winner of the Bangkok governor election wouldn't normally get so many headlines, except that this election did. And there's a few reasons why, and some takeaways for everyone after the results became apparent yesterday. Really, the polls have been so clear on this election, the actual poll ended up just a mere formality. Although the Election Commission has not formally announced the winners, Chadchat Sitipun is Bangkok's new governor, a 55-year-old former transport minister and Per Thai member. That's the opposition party, the same party that was ditched from power in a coup precisely 8 years ago yesterday. Chadchat had spent the last 2 years crafting his victory and drawn on thousands of volunteers around Bangkok's 50 districts. Now, COVID-19 sort of played into his campaign's hands with an urgent need for support for the city's poor, so food bag relief became a visible part of his campaign as he slowly won the hearts and minds of the city's voters. But the result is more than a win for the hard-working candidate. It wasn't even close. With 100% of the votes now counted, rounding up to the nearest 1,000, Mr. Chadchat received 1,386,000 votes. Then there was literally everyone else, the other 30 candidates, with the next highest candidate receiving 254,000 votes. The former Governor Aswin, a puppet governor put in by the NCPO after they cancelled the 2014 Bangkok election, came fifth with 214,000 votes. In fact, if you tally up the votes from the next 5 candidates, you still don't reach the number of votes received by the winner. So let's call it a landslide. But there will be some people unhappy about the former Per Thai transport minister's win, most notably the incumbent coalition government, led by, well, for now anyway, the PM Prayut Chan-o-cha. Candidates representing the conservative side of Thai politics were decimated. Now, that includes candidates representing Palang Pracharat, the Democrats and Royalist parties. The Democrats were sidelined early after a number of #MeToo issues arose, not the least a cavalcade of sexual misconduct allegations directed at the party's deputy leader. The fallout meant the Democrats were out of the race early, despite Bangkok City always being a stronghold for them in the past. But for the other Conservative candidates, the result is devastating. And the vote count for the Bangkok election will now follow the PM into the next parliamentary session, where another vote of no confidence on his leadership will be held. It should also be noted that there was a strong flow of votes from Conservative voters and the so-called elite that led to Chad Chart's win. That's another problem the Prayut government will need to absorb. And just a final side note on yesterday's Bangkok governor election. Chadchat Sitipun was the transport minister for the Per Thai party when on May the 22nd, 2014, exactly 8 years to the day, the Bangkok governor election was held. On that day of the coup in 2014, he was taken away to a secret location against his will with a bag over his head by Thai soldiers. So Chadchat's landslide win yesterday obviously has special significance for him, and this election will now reverberate around Thai politics for at least the rest of this year. Tim Newton reporting for Good Morning.
Good Morning Thailand gets up to 80,000 viewers per week, and we'd like to weaponise our audience for you.
That's right. So if you have a business or property or even your house that you'd like to sell,
Private yacht?
yeah, we could be in space.
I'm not sure about space.
Well, all you have to do is contact us on info@thethaiger.com, and you can hire us up to a day or even a week, and we'll go to your property and do the show live.
Good Morning Thailand, coming your way.
I don't know. Anyway.
Welcome back to Good Morning Thailand. You're watching the show with Mike Kenna, Natty Warisa, and me, Jay. We're going to move on to our last topic today, which is regarding Thai institutions and teachers. And I brought this topic up today because Education Minister Kun Trinuk on Sunday affirmed teachers that you have no right to shave kids' hair. Now, this might come as a shock to you, but in certain Thai government schools, if a student is not following the rules, there are certain rules for uniform, certain rule for hair length. So a teacher actually got a shaver and just said, Mike, your hair is not up to standards, takes out shaver, starts shaving his hair in front of everyone, not just humiliating the student, but also doing something that's not legal. So the minister actually had to come out and say, teachers don't have the right to do that. However, there's a lot of different, ways that we can look at this. But so let me start off with you, Mike. Could a teacher in the UK just take off his shaver and cut and shave someone's hair and humiliate them in front of everyone?
Is it free?
I guess, yeah.
No, of course not. But
yeah, the point I'm trying to make is you can't do this in the West. It's only in perhaps Asia, and a lot of stories coming out of Thai institutions and education stories are teachers beating up kids. There have been some student deaths, humiliation. They just abuse they abuse their power?
I mean, I don't know enough. I can talk about the cultural elements that create this. I think, Natty, you're probably best positioned. Did you grow up in Thai schools, or?
Yeah, I did go to a Thai school, and I would say that generally the teachers do abuse the students, whether it is a public or private school for that matter, because I went to a private Thai school. And the teachers back in the days, that's like years and decades ago, I remember we weren't staying in line properly, so she took out a pin, like a sewing pin, and she started poking our butts with it, so everybody would go in line. And that's not that long ago, and teachers were doing that in good private schools, right? Yeah. So you can only imagine what the government schools are going to be like, with nobody overlooking. There's no CCTV cameras even, so they have full range of abusive powers that they can use with these kids, and it's unfortunate that that's still happening in today's age. Unbelievable. Yeah.
So there is a cultural difference. I guess in the West, obviously students are a lot more outspoken. They stand up for their rights. Western students might even be considered disrespectful in Thai culture, because there are a lot of goody goodies. I don't know how else to say that.
Oh, what is goody goodies?
Goody goodies. You know, when you're a goody goody, like I follow all the rules.
Oh, okay.
But we're also seeing a change in the younger generation as they are being more outspoken and standing up for their rights. Any comment, Mike?
Yeah, I think it's changing. I think, like if you think about what Thai stand up for, I mean, it's one, the king. The second is, 6 p.m. when they play the national anthem, everyone stands still. There's definitely like a cultural, I don't know if it's a problem, it's cultural differences. I think, when I look at Thai children and, there's no wrong or right here, but I find that Western children challenge more the status quo. They're told to, basically be open about their feelings, to tell their parents they love them. In Thai culture, it's very much respect and everything else, and I think that creates a very closed society, which, allows these kind of abusive powers to exist. So I think it stems in the whole cultural definition of Thai parenting. I think it's changing now, but I still think, that Western children will challenge rules and challenge status quos. And, you look at, for example, Westerners in Thailand, they're challenging every rule, whether it's the mask rule or this rule or the vaccination rule, where I think, the Thai kind of cultural issues is that Thais will fall in line and believe, what is led by the institution. I think, we've just learned to basically not trust what the institution says and to challenge this. I think it stems from a very, very early age, and it's definitely, uprooted in Thailand. I mean, Natty, what do you think?
I think the same. No, I know that that's exactly the truth. We've been indoctrinated basically ever since we were kids, especially when we're in school, to always never question authority. Well, that was back like many years ago, but I think it's still upheld today. Never question authorities, always do what your teachers are done. And culturally, even at home, like, oh, you shouldn't speak badly to your elders. Like, always respect your elders, even if they kind of don't make sense. Just turn a blind eye and just continue to follow it. Like, that's what most of the Thais have been taught, and we take it into adulthood and then we pass it down to the next generation and next generation. But what we're seeing now is that with the age of digital, right, I think more and more kids are having knowledge or being educated. They're educating themselves from the internet. They're seeing how other cultures are dealing with it from, I don't know, like soft powers from Netflix or whatever. They see the cultures in high schools in America, and they're like, hey, kids there can actually challenge their their teachers, and they come out as heroes. Why can't we do this as well? And I think more and more Thai people feel a little bit more empowered, and they feel like, oh, maybe this is the direction that we should take, and that's a positive thing.
I see.
Yeah, it's a challenging one, because I ever thought, if I had Thai children, obviously partner's Thai, like what would I like to bring up my children being? Would I lean more towards the Thai influence or more towards the Western influence? And I've always thought, well, there's obviously good cultural aspects of both, but I think that I like the ability for children to express their feelings, which doesn't happen at all in Thai culture, especially amongst parents. You see, Thai kids, well, it doesn't matter how old the children are, they see their parents, it's like this, yep. As opposed to, hey mum, hey dad, I love you, and you can have that friendship relationship. And then, in rules as well. So I think the West, that influence has got a very positive, take on moving Thailand forward in relation to the thought patterns that happen here.
Okay. Do you think the current generation is changing, Natty?
Oh, for sure. I can see a lot of kids now challenging authorities. That's like a big one with all the protests going on.
Exactly, yeah.
But even within the household, I think more and more kids are now kind of challenging the teachers even, or challenging the parents. Like, oh, that's not what I seen on, social media. Can we do it a different way? And parents now that the newer parents' generations are the millennials and being a little bit more, modern in that aspect, they're kind of agreeing with the kids, and they're giving in a bit.
Okay. All right. Thailand, a more open society. A book by Natty Warisa. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to switch to our live question and answers segment. So if you do have any questions, you can keep them coming now, because guess what? The voice of God has returned. It's Carmel, and she has been looking at your questions all this time, and she'll be addressing it to us now. So, Carmel, please let us know if you have any members' questions while you're looking at them. Can I quickly ask you, did anybody watch the football last night?
So I didn't stay up, I was a bit late, but I tuned in the morning just to see what happened. Crazy.
Fair enough. Yes, Manchester City, ladies and gentlemen, are your Premier League champions, only if you are into football. And by football, I mean soccer for all of our viewers watching from Australia and America and or Canada. But yeah, Manchester City are your champions, winning the Premiership by 1 point. Leeds stayed up, Burnley relegated. And that's my update.
All right.
Anybody watch the F1, Formula One?
I was
Anyone?
about to ask
I
you that.
No?
If you watched
Ladies
it.
and gentlemen, Max Verstappen won the Spanish Grand Prix. It was a Red Bull 1-2 with Sergio Perez number 2 and George Russell, UK's George Russell on Mercedes number 3. Everyone's
excited.
really interested
And
in
that's
my
your
Super
sports update
excited.
for
And that was
today.
your quick F1 and
Awesome.
football update from the weekend. All right, let's go.
Okay, time to address the comments and questions. When you were talking about inflation, I remember Tony the Tiger 86 said that Thailand has huge foreign reserves thanks to IMF crisis in 1997. So there's no way the Thai baht will collapse like it did back in the days. What do you guys think?
I think our member probably knows a little bit more than what we do. So, we don't see. I don't think the Thai baht will collapse. I just think that some depreciation is probably good because we want the international market to return in droves and to get back to pre-pandemic levels. So. Some deflationary, some depreciation methods are good, especially on the currency level. But our members probably more informed than we are. We're just commenting on the news. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, right. So shout out to Jason and Susan for donating $2. Did you already have that shout out?
thank you.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
for your donation. We appreciate it very, very much.
So everyone was talking about tipping when we were on the topic of inflation. So I wanted to ask all of you, do you tip here in Thailand? Because I know in some countries it's actually rude to tip. It kind of gives a different impression to people that are receiving it. So yeah, what about here in Thailand? Do you
Rude
do it?
to tip. I think the balance has also changed. This whole rude to tip, I've faced it not many times. There's just a couple of times when I was much younger. Back in Thailand at that time, even though we're so much into tourism, a lot of the people wouldn't accept the tip. They'd be like, "Oh no, thank you, that's not necessary." But unless you insist on it, then they'll take it. I think now there's a difference. If you go to a posh place, obviously they have service charge, and with the VAT, sometimes with the VAT and the service charge, it's like it ends up being a crazy price.
It's a cheeky one. I don't actually know the legalities of this. I think but the majority of restaurants, not talking about market stores, restaurants are just charging service on top. And
and the big question is, does the service charge go to the employees, to the waiter? Because I don't mind that. I mean, I love it. Yes, they deserve a tip, but does that even go to them?
There's no.
It should go to the people there.
It should. Is the answer. It should. But I think when it comes to tipping, outside of these restaurants where service is added on, I'm not tipping unless the service was exceptional and you felt that one individual, has really changed your evening. But say for example, some tips. Say for example, using Grab. I always tip the driver before he comes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I add in a tip before he comes. Listen, what's the point of tipping someone afterwards, right? I always think about this. So you add a little tip before they come, and then the service can be much better. Yeah. So tip before you come. I also, in my security, in my building, I always tip the concierge, and they look after you more.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes a lot
they
of
get
sense.
paid such low salaries that. I'm definitely a pro tipper, especially on the low end. But going to a top end restaurant and tipping on top, you're going to get a good service regardless. I think if you're tipping at the end, I understand the concept of tipping at the end, but I think if you give them some remuneration up front, you'll probably get better service. So reverse that process. Tip at the start.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
Oh, tips.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Daddy, what do you think about tipping? Are you a tipper? Are you like shay? I mean, are you like what's shay in English?
Honestly, I feel obligated to tip every time, but not just obligated. Sometimes I feel like it's my duty to tip, especially if you go to those places where, like, say, massage parlors. No, the family-friendly massage places.
Okay.
If you get your hair cut, whatever, you should tip those people because their salaries are probably not great. anyways.
Nettie's message to the public: tip your masseuse.
Yes.
Yeah,
tip your
especially if
masseuse.
you're going to go back there regularly.
Yes.
Because that
exactly.
way you're always going to get, and they'll be happy to see you. And I notice that there's a massage joint around the corner, and I always tip quite well. Normal massage joint for all the dirty people out there, and I tip quite well. So when I come in, I always get like great service. I think that really helps. Because these people make peanuts, so just be generous, especially on the bikes. Everyone's like, oh, it's 20 baht for a Thai and 60 baht for a foreigner. It's like, give them the money. They probably need it.
All right. Talking about tipping, we were actually planning, me and Mike and Nettie, to do a segment on digital prostitution. Now,
very curious.
very interesting topic, and viewers, I'd like to know your comments and feedback. Would you be interested in a segment on digital prostitution? As now in Thailand, we live in a crazy we live in a crazy world where, there is prostitution in Thailand, whether we like to admit it or not, and it's now taken a whole new digital form where there's very easy access to it.
Nice. Prostitution in the metaverse? Is that what it is?
No.
All right.
Not virtual prostitution.
No.
Never mind.
I mean, you got to think about the whole concepts of Grab and Uber. You think where this is all leading to.
Yeah.
And we did some research, and we're quite shocked on the findings. I mean, we all know it's very much Thai focused. So when we say that the prostitution in Thailand is focused around the domestic, Thai industry as opposed to the international community. But we've found some platforms that were quite shocking in terms of, not shocking in terms of we didn't know this content exists, but the amount of volume going through this. And
thousands.
Tens and tens of thousands of individuals, putting up there, offering, just in a small region in Bangkok. And we're like, okay, this is interesting. And how will this shift, especially with the digitization of the whole markets and all asset classes, like what will this look like in 5 years? And this is something we actually openly speak about and address now, or do we just say it's a taboo, this doesn't exist, or just show everyone that this does exist, and then talk about what are the negatives and pros of having this in society. It'll be an interesting debate. If anyone wants us to do that, we're thinking about running a segment.
Please leave a comment in the comment section, not just the live chat, so we can address or basically decide if we're going to do that topic or not. So let us know your feedback in the comment section below. All right, any more questions?
Yeah, to follow up on your answers with tipping, Western Hepworth asked, do you think with the post-COVID environment these days tipping is more expected in Thailand? Because I'm sure it'll be appreciated.
I see. You mean post-pandemic?
Yeah, now
Okay.
with the situation, do you think it's more expected to tip?
I don't think it's expected, no. I think in Thailand, even if we go around any restaurants, whether they're street vendors, they never ask, they never even suggest that I want a tip. If they're mostly all nice people, and if you're going to tip, then you're more likely to tip than them asking you to tip.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, if you have the means to tip, and you don't have to tip like 500 baht, 100 baht, even if you put down 10 or 20, sometimes that 10 or 20 goes a really long way for these people. So if you have the means, I would just say drop a little bit. It always helps.
I think the Thailand came very complacent, especially in the service market, when pre-pandemic, when you had 40 odd million people coming here, the service level dropped. There were so many tourists, people like, oh, this is only 100 baht, whatever, everyone was tipping like crazy. I think after the pandemic, we've just noticed like that, the quality of service has really upped because, they haven't seen tourists in 2 years. So they're very happy and welcome for your service and, to provide, the stuff they do. So I think that you're probably more likely to tip. The service is just much better now. And I think, only the good places have survived that provide good service. So I think, yes, if the service is good, you should definitely tip. I mean, why wouldn't you? The same way, you would expect that if you did a great job at work, in your job, you would expect a pay rise. Yeah, what would be the difference? And this is the way they derive their income. So yeah, more tipping is probably happening.
Agreed.
Okay, the last few comments are actually our members sharing their experience in schools.
Okay.
Tony the Thaiger 86 said he remembers getting slapped by a teacher in Korea because he wrote sloppy when he was 9. Reread
harsh.
said that he went to a Catholic school and it was freaking insane. He called it the Torture Academy. And Damien Jesser said that he has been smashed over the hands in school. And I asked him, like, where did he study? Because I thought this would be in Asia. And he said that he actually studied in Australia and they used a bamboo cane or something.
What?
Yeah.
Is it a boarding school or something?
It sounds like it would be a boarding school,
it
but then
happened everywhere, didn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah.
just changed. I think, you know, when I was at school, so I'm
Yeah.
37 now, so we're talking, you know, just over 20 years ago. If a teacher, you know, went for it, I'd be like, come on in, you know, like
Yeah.
there is no way I'm going to take abuse from a teacher, like trying to physically.
Yeah.
They just couldn't do it, you know. Like I think times have changed,
Yeah,
you know.
especially now. I think now even the parents get involved because, like, you know, that's where the whole snowflake thing came out, and like, I mean, that kind of makes sense. Imagine if you spend a lot of money to spend your child let your child go to a good educational institute, and you want them to get education, and they come back crying because their teacher hit them because they did something wrong.
But you've got to think, right? The whole haircutting thing.
Yeah.
They're basically saying you need to be like everybody else. I mean, that statement is just nuts. That you have to be like everyone else. You cannot be special. You cannot be better. You have to be the same. All the girls have to have their hair cut like they're, you know, long overgrown boys, and you know, and the boys shaving their head. I mean, it's just mental. It's a crazy concept. They should push individuality. You know, how can you as an individual, as a young child, want to be special or better? And I think, you know, if it's too ingrained in this institutional, you know, let's everyone be the same, and you know, then I just think it's all just.
I guess it's all
mental.
about maintaining discipline. In their minds, they're like, oh, what if all the kids turn up with a crazy, wacky hairstyle and pink hair?
I know for a fact, like, the teachers kind of gave their justification when I was younger. The reason why we have to dress the same, have the same haircut, is so that there is no disparity in terms of income gap. Like, so the rich kids look just exactly the same as the, you know, not so rich kids, and then everybody can get along.
Ooh. That's interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. So like, if you're blessed with better hair, or you know, like you look the same. Effectively.
Yeah. So that was their argument,
I mean,
anyways.
there's some validity to that. It's quite interesting. I didn't actually know that was it. To you know,
Yeah.
to keep everyone on an equal standard. But let's be honest, the world is definitely not equal. You know, so I
Yeah.
think, you know, they're lining them up for total failure by doing that, because they're going to come into a big open world, and it's like, you know, it does matter. Unfortunately, if you have more money, you're better looking. This is the world we actually live in. It's not, you know, we're not pretending we're living in a bubble. So I think it lines them up for like a shock coming out of the schools. Yeah.
Right. Got to train them early.
Yes, Carmel.
Inequality.
yeah, that's about it.
That's
actually.
about it. All
Yeah.
right. Any last comments from you viewers? Please keep them coming, because if you do have any questions, we're going to answer a couple more
I mean,
before we leave.
There's a lot. There's one.
Okay.
Mackie said that my dad broke the nose of a teacher that hit me with a 1 meter ruler.
Oh,
Never did
jeez.
it again.
Oh, that's
Fair play.
pretty violent.
Fair
Yeah.
play. I mean, you shouldn't be
Yeah.
hitting someone else's kids. So you know.
It also depends on parenting styles, right? Like, I guess if you're,
I mean,
we're a different
sorry,
generation.
if you
now.
found out that your kid got hit by someone else, doesn't matter, teacher, policeman, politician, if you found out your child got hit by someone that wasn't their parents,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you should.
Nobody beats up my kid
You're
except
gonna go.
me.
What are you gonna
Go
do?
nuts
You're
and
gonna
go
go
nuts.
nuts. Yeah, you're gonna go nut them, right? It's
I guess, yeah.
straight up, right? You can't pretend this is even feasible. You should not hit someone else's kids,
Well, especially in school
unless
for
they're
making a
little
mis- yeah.
shits. Then you can give them a good kick. But no, I'm joking. Like, you can't.
But especially if you're in school for making a mistake, that means you're basically saying you're not allowed to make mistakes. You're not allowed to fail in life. You're going to be punished through physical pain.
Yeah.
I mean, life's already difficult enough.
We should reward them with failure by giving them a medal.
Yeah.
I'm joking. But
Exactly.
no, but
And
which way do you
cupcakes.
go? Yeah.
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 Oh well.
Yeah. It's all
right.
good.
So did you ever get? Okay, let's just talk about our experience. Did you ever get hit in school?
By other people, yes. Like, you know,
You just got into fights yourself.
I actually got thrown out of 2 schools.
no.
But so I went to like a private school. Like, when I say private, it wasn't like in the sense that, you know, the education was better, but our parents had to pay for us to be there. But because of that, the kids were just unruly. So, you know, like, if a teacher said something to you, our question was, our business teacher said, like, you're going to get a U. And I remember my friend responding, like, what car do you drive?
Oh.
Yeah, and you know, like, and if you're so smart, but it was good because we started challenging early. It was like, if you guys are so smart, we want to be taught by, if you want to be taught business, I spoke about this before, you want to be taught by someone who's accomplished in business, not someone who's just read a book, reciting the book back to you, who hasn't achieved anything in business. The same with science, the same with math, the same with medicine. So I think, I think the culture we grew up, we challenged, you know, the teachers straight up. It was like, you know, if you're so smart, then, but is that a good way to be? If I had a kid that was doing that, I'd probably give him a slap. So I think,
Get your shit together.
But I never had a teacher hit me. I had a teacher pretend to hit me, like, you know, like try and intimidate me, but we knew they couldn't do anything. Yeah, so like, yeah.
I see.
How about you, Jay? Have you ever been smacked?
Yes, when I was about maybe 8 or 9 years old. So I did about 6 to 8 months in India, in a school there, and they had rulers, they had bamboo sticks, slaps on the faces.
What?
It was a convent school as well, so it was quite like, you know, one of those Catholic religious schools, I guess. I got out of there very quickly, but yeah, pretty much that was pretty much the only time in Dubai where I studied for about 4 years. At that time, I guess in like 97, the teachers were allowed to punish the students. But I think I was just too young. I don't quite remember it that much. But as soon as I came to Thailand, I felt like I was always a respectful person to teachers, you know, coming from like the Indian culture and also Thai culture influences, you know, were quite respectful and stuff. But when I came to Thailand, my school was a British curriculum. I was like, you know, the teachers would be like, what do you think? And I'd be like, I don't know, you tell me. Right? And it was strange for me at first, but yeah, because I was like 9, 10 years old, I started to develop from that age, and I was like, oh, I can ask questions when I don't understand something. My teacher cares about what I actually think. They want to know what I want to learn, and that, you know, changed me as a person to who I am now.
Can I give
So
you
I've
a
had
little
both worlds. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting that you have experience from both worlds, because like I'm quite similar. Like I grew up in Thailand first, and then when I went to the States, I was like shocked culturally, because in class when the bell rings, all the kids just got up while the teacher was still on the board teaching. I was like, what is this? This is weird, like, because I've never had that before in my life. Yeah.
And they just left like, sorry, school's out.
Yeah,
I'm done. See ya.
Yeah, and exactly what Mike said. Like, so if the teacher said something that didn't make sense, the kids would just be like, "What do you mean by that? That sounds stupid." Like they would use words like that.
That's what you need. You need to be able to challenge. Otherwise, you know, if you can't challenge anything, nothing changes, right? So
True.
anyway, it's a wider debate, but I think it's interesting. 3 different perspectives, 3 different upbringings, only one right answer.
Mike kind of rebel with the cause. He's out there to change the world. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed today's episode and hope you had a great Monday morning with us, having your morning coffee or pancakes, or night time for viewers watching at a different time zone. As for now, I'd like to say thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
And thank you, Nettie. And thank you, Shy, behind the buttons, solo today, might I add, and the voice of God, Carmel.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, please leave a comment in the comment section below regarding any feedback you have for any of the topics we've spoken about. And also, if you'd like us to do a segment on digital prostitution and the current state of prostitution in Thailand, we hope you have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow.